So today we're going to build a man gate, garden gate, side gate, whatever we want to call it. We're going to use loose tenon joinery and make our own shiplap for the front. All right, you ready? Right, this is what we're going to use. We're going to use this stuff, okay? This is what I'm going to use for the frame. This is 38 by 89. It's called vac, which I think is the treatment. That's why it's a bit yellow. Looks like it's been out in the sun for a while, doesn't it? But it's treated down to, so it's not treated for direct ground contact like your green or brown treated timber is, but it is treated for sustained water. I know that I can use it for gates because I've been using it for a couple of years here now and not had any problems at all. Stuff that we're going to use for the shiplap is this, which is 1x4, which is, I think it's about 24mm, 23mm by 105mm, but it's 1x4. It is treated timber and it is, yeah, I mean the treatment's not bad. I think you can see that. It's not perfect, but it's not bad. So what we're going to do is we're going to rip a section out of this side, rip a section out of this side, and then that's going to be our shiplap for the front. So this is what I'm going to use to make mortises in there. So we've got our little Trend T4. I've done a video on this if you're interested. It'd be well worth a look. So we've got an 8mm spiral upcut bit in there, which is going to pull all the material out of the mortise as we cut it. And I have a jig lying around somewhere. Probably lost it in the renovation, but yeah, I've got a jig lying around somewhere. We'll just pop that on, draw it out, and that's how we're gonna do it. If you wanna do it just like this, what you can do is just use your edge guide, pop it in, maybe not that way around, pop it in, and sort it to run this along the side of the edge. I'll show you that in a bit. These are the tenons, loose tenons that we're gonna use, slip tenons, loose tenons, slip tenons. There's a whole bunch of other words for them, because I recently wrote a blog on it, and now I can't remember what they are. But you know what I'm talking about. So what these are 70mm by 55, and these are what we're hogging out, and then that's gonna go in halfway, and then the other half is gonna be the other piece of timber. And like I said, I've used these on a whole stack of gates now for the last 2 years. They've been beautiful. I'll put a little picture up of how the gate is gonna look. The last few gates that we've been doing are feather edge, and that's what I've been doing the social posts on, but I thought this one would make a nice video, long format type video, because we're going to run our own shiplap through. So hopefully it should turn out all right. Right, so we've got our 3 middle beams and our 2 uprights. So these are 632, 1525, because we're not going to go all the way down to the bottom. We're going to have a 100mm gap at the bottom, 100mm at the top, and then we're going to start the curves. Yeah, so this is what the client requested, and I'm happy to do that because it's going to work just fine. So now I'm going to mark out where the mortises need to be and get on with that. Okay, so we'll quickly, off the cuff, show you how to mark out a mortise. Now, there's a million ways to do this. This is like super quick, on a gate. We're not doing fine furniture here, right? So I know that this material is 89, so for argument's sake, we'll say it is 90mm, so half of 90mm is 45. Right, so that's gonna go in there. I make these tenons, I just make a whole batch of them. Now I know that these are 57mm long, and they are just under ½ an inch wide, and that is more than enough for this. So what we're going to do, well, 57mm this way, 12mm this way, and then I believe this is like 70. Yeah, 70. Okay, so what we're going to do, right, is I know that the center point of these is here. Okay, so I'm going to mark that there, and I'm going to mark that there, and then mark one there. Now, so there we've got the edges of where the mortise is going to be. Next thing is I know that these are 12mm, so you could, for argument's sake, I guess, measure in 6mm and say, right, there's your 6mm, there's your 6mm. You could, for argument's sake, if you really wanted to, like proper off the cuff, just do that and line it up. But that's not going to be ideal. The other thing we can do is we know that this material is 38mm in this direction. So we do 38mm minus 12mm, which is going to be 26. 26 divided by 2 is going to be 13. So if we're measuring 13mm, oh, look at that, it's bang on. So I did that 6mm right there. So what we'll do is we'll measure along this, probably a little bit better if we do it like this. So we're going to measure along this line because we know this line is straight. So we're going to measure in 13. And this line, we're going to measure in 13, and then we're just going to connect them, and we'll do the same thing on the other side. There we go. And then that there is what you're going to chop out. Now, again, like I said, it's not 100% perfect. It's not super fine furniture. We're not working with like expensive like walnut and stuff like this. This is just a quick, easy and simple way for us to go about and do it. So I can do this by eye. So my little jig is just going to clamp down, and then I'm just going to hog all that out with router. So that's what we'll do now. I'll show you, and then I'll get the rest done. Right then, so we've got the tenons cut, we've got the mortises cut, we've got our centre beams done, everything has been hogged out. It's awesome, I'm really pleased with this. Right, so as a little bit of a slide to show you what we use. So these are our tenons, these are 80mm by 57mm by 12.5mm. So they're effectively like 1/2 inch by 3 and a bit inches by 2 and a bit inches. Yeah, and these are what we use. So this is old Doug fir. This is out of a piece of 2x10. Is some old school construction number that we've had. We've got like a lot of offcuts sat next door, and you know me, not wanting to spend money where I don't have to. So what we do is we trim these, run them through the table saw to the right width. Then we trim them down through the table saw. So we run it once, flip it, run it twice, cut them off, and then we just trim them down to size. And what I'll do is I'll round these edges off just to give it that rounded finish like this one just here, just around the corners off. And what I tend to do is I tend to just run a groove down the centre here and here, and then what that lets it like, so when we've got loads of glue in there, what can happen is it'll be, I suppose, is it like a hydrolock, that sort of thing, where you can't push it in anymore because it's full of like air and glue. So obviously the fluid doesn't want to compress. So that's our tenons. That's the bits and pieces. This is the glue that we use. This is Sudal, I don't know, P45 Pro. This is the stuff. This is ultra fast set polyurethane glue. This is the stuff that bubbles up and gets on your hands and makes your hands glow all black. I love using this. It sets in low temperatures. It sets quick, like real quick. So the other stuff I've got, you can't really move the gates for 24 hours. That's like a resin-based PVA. It works great, but we tend to use that more in the summertime and for projects that we can just leave, you know. Whereas when we're doing building gates and bits and pieces, what we'll do, especially outdoor stuff, is we'll use this because it is my favourite glue to use, I think, at the moment. So we're going to whack some glue in each of these. We're going to pop the tenons in, and then we'll sandwich it together once they've had a bit of time to set, which will be like 10-15 minutes, and it'll all bubble up. All right, so we'll do that now. Shaved it off cut because this is just a bit easier because they're still a little bit damp and they're quite heavy and a lot of, well, I'm going to be knocking anything over the door. So what we're going to do is we're going to mark halfway in on the top. Well, we're just going to run a halfway mark all the way along, and then I think the rebate that I'm going to pull in is maybe 90mm. We'll go for 3/4 of an inch. I did debate whether to do an inch, but you know, because it's damp and it's going to dry out. However, I think 3/4 of an inch is going to be just fine. So I'll mark the centre line, we'll set the fence, we'll do 3/4 of an inch up, we'll set this, we'll cut all the boards that I need. I think I need 10, 11, I'll go check my design. We'll cut all of the downs, and then what we'll do is the downs, all the vertical ones, and then what we'll do is we'll drop this to the right height and just run them all through, pop, pop, and then we'll have our shiplap builds. So that's what we'll do. And obviously I'm going to whack wedges in here to help clamp up the gate. This is how I normally do it for a big gate or a small gate. I've got maybe a couple clamps that would work for this one, but this just seems to work and it's easier, and I can get it all square because I know my table's square, and yeah, we just go on that. So I'm going to put the glue on, whack everything together, give it all a wiggle room, give it all a wiggle, and we'll get there. Now, just so you know, if you're making a gate and things are a little bit twisted because timber's got wet and it's warped or whatever like that, don't stress about it. Like, that's a little bit warped as well. What I'm going to do, once we've got everything together, I'm then going to clamp it down, and while it dries, that'll pull itself in, and it'll keep it nice and tight and nice and flat and straight. And like I said, I've done a whole bunch of gates like this. Some of them twisted to start with. Well, some of the timber's twisted, and every single one that I've installed has been perfectly plumb, and it still is to this day. All right, so I'm going to go on with this. Okay, so these are my extremely up-to-date, extremely expensive clamps. What I do is I've got a wedge, I screw one edge to the table, and then hammer this wedge in, which obviously forces itself in there, pushes all the force going this way, or going this way. And then we have a solid block here, which is screwed down. These clamps, I think I've done a video on them. If I haven't, they're just a 6-inch piece of 18mm with a 6-inch piece of 9mm birch on top. I glue them, pop 3 screws in, and then I just screw through this and the birch holds it down. Obviously, like, it starts to bend a little bit, but it doesn't matter because it's just offcuts and scrap. And this will hold anything down. This is one of the main reasons why I love having an MDF top, because the workbench is functional. All right, it's not, I forget what the workbench is called, the real nice ones, but it's not meant to be beautiful. I mean, it does look gorgeous, right, doesn't it? But it's not meant to be beautiful. It's not meant to be anything other than for working with. So, and you know, I find that I get so much better clamping than I would do if I got a whole bunch of clamps, and they're not like, I don't know, how much is a sash clamp? Maybe like 40, 50 quid for one that will do 4 foot, and on this I can do like whatever I want. So this is why we do it. This is where we're at. So we're gonna let the glue set for a little bit. Maybe I'll go home, it's getting late, maybe I'll go home, maybe I'll come in early tomorrow. Shiplap's all cut, you saw all the shiplap done, so we've got that profile on there. I've got 2 boards where I've only cut one side of the profile, because obviously one's going to be one edge, one's going to be the other. I've done it, I've designed it, I've done it on the computer, so hopefully we shouldn't have to cut too much off of one end, but if we do, it doesn't matter. The client's not worried about it. But yeah, so that's where we're at the moment. There we go, let's just stick on the wide angle. I've lined it all up. You can see the profile sits there quite nice and tiny. We're about, you see that? I don't know, maybe, where are we? About there. Hardly anything, really. Look at that. It's almost like I know what I'm doing. Almost, eh? So yeah, so I've lined it all up. We're gonna attach it like super tight, just because it's wet. It's gonna dry out a lot. It's gonna dry out a lot. I don't think it's gonna expand anymore. 3/4 of an inch should be fine, but obviously it's a little bit of a concern. It shouldn't be a problem. And then what we're gonna do is get the first one on, and we'll toenail through the shiplap bit with the coil nailer. Look, it is getting dark, look, with the coil nailer, and yeah. And then I'm gonna go home, and then tomorrow morning what we'll do is this end we're gonna, how do we do this? We're gonna go, whoop, we're gonna cut like a nice little thing on the top of it. But yeah, happy days, so I'll get on that now. Alright, cool, so I just had a quick look, and I just had a little change of plan, just a little change of plan. Changed my mind a little bit on how I'm gonna nail it, how I'm gonna fix it. I'm going to put one in the tongue, one on the front, put the next one up, and then one here, and then one in the tongue. Because I had a look on some US siding sites where they use this stuff all the time, and that's what they said to do. So that's what I'm going to follow. Just if you're wondering, I do have a 100mm gap here at the bottom, and that's going to run all the way along. And then at the top we've got more overhang, because obviously we're going to curve it. But yeah, let's go on with that then. All done. time to go home. The glue you can set, it's got a bit of weight to it. You can see, I don't know if you can see, we're pretty much dead on. I've got the electric planer at home, so I just run that down the edge tomorrow, and we're a couple mil out at the top more than what we are at the bottom. Not really concerned about that. That could just be, well, it could be the timber, to be honest with you, because it's sold as like 100 mil timber. Some are like 104, some are like 101. So I guess it sort of depends on how much treatment it's taken up and how much it's filled up. So we butt jointed everything like tight, because the wood's soaking, inevitably it's going to dry out. And even being standing and outside, even if the client doesn't paint it, it's still not going to collect as much water as what it did when they were treating it, right? Because they pressure treat it. So happy days. I'm gonna climb everything down, and then I'm gonna go home. So I shall see you tomorrow. All right? Ready? No, that didn't work. That didn't work. That didn't work. Maybe one of these will work. So you might be wondering, Josh, that's a little bit of a weird thing to do, innit? Fix the brace after you fix the cladding to it, and normally I'd say yes, but we weren't quite sure on which side the gate was going to be hung just yet. Just that confirmation from the client, so put the bracing in. Normally, what I tend to like to do is I tend to like to half lap the centre join. Don't necessarily have to do it as long as this is a straight run all the way through. But yeah, it's a bit of belt and braces, but obviously I didn't have the time to do that this way. So if you're interested on how to do it, what you do is you lay the board from corner to corner, from this inside corner to that inside corner, you lay it across, mark here and here, and obviously that's going to give you your angle. What I tend to do is I have one of these. These are awesome because what you can do is you can move them and set them to the angle that you want, tighten it down, and then not only can you take that over and like transfer that to the miter saw, but what you can do is you can set this and be like, okay, right, so that's the corner, that's the mark. You can sit it on the board, mark it across, there you go, that's your first cut. And then on here, you'll mark where it intersects here and here, put that on there, do that first cut. You do want to make sure, because obviously you're using timber which can move, what I tend to do is I tend to do this inside joint as well, just in case this one's maybe like a degree or something out because of the curve of the timber or anything like that. Do that, mark that one, do the same. Like I said, normally I'd half lap, and what I've done here is I've put like a 4-inch screw going in this way, 4-inch screw going in this way. We've got the glue in there because the glue's going to do the majority of the work anyway. I pre-drill at the top and the bottom. I go in about 1 inch, and then I drive two 4-inch screws in that way, 2 4-inch screws in that way, and it's not going anywhere. For the top, what I'll do is I'll cut a couple plugs, pop some glue in, knock them in, cut them smooth, and that's done. Gate's done, and then we're ready to fit it. Happy days, eh? So there we go then, ladies and gents, that is my super simple shiplap gate with loose tenon joinery. I hope you learned something. If you did, please let me know in the comments below, and if you feel like it, you could always hit the old subscribe button and you know, give me a like. That would be awesome. Alright, thank you very much. You'll have a great day, and I'll catch you on the next one.